We're thrilled to have you here this morning for the launch of a Running Start Philadelphia for every child from birth to 5. So we had so many people who helped us develop this plan and worked with us and who are doing work on the ground and who'll have a role in implementing it, be it on, again, on the front line or through policy or funding, that we're thrilled to show this level of support right at the launch. My name is Eva Gladstein, and first I want to ask Mary Graham to come up. She has graciously agreed to host us in this Keystone Star 4 Children's Village.
Welcome, everyone. This room is like the waiting list for high-quality child care. There's not enough spots. We were supposed to be on the deck, but the sun gods didn't cooperate. But this is a little bit better because it really does highlight what a quality program looks like. This is a school-age classroom. We have 450 children here every day. We're a success story. We've been around, we're starting our 4th decade. We're a success because of our partnerships. We have here our board. Board members raise their hand. They're from business, they're from community, they're from education, they're families. They partnered with business. Jim Martin, who's on our board, who started the center, was just giving Councilman Squilla a tour, and he talked about how this has been a partnership from day one for working families. We've partnered with the businesses, the community. I've met often with Steve Ray from the Economic League. I think we were talking about that cost of high quality maybe 20 years ago. I'm glad that we're progressing, a little bit slow, but we're still progressing. This is what quality looks like. If you get a chance afterwards and you want a tour, there's a few of us who can give you a tour. It's for children. I know Running Start is for children birth to 5. We go up to age 13 because the learning doesn't stop. We're here for the child, for the whole child, not just for the academic, but for the nutritional part, for the social, economic, emotional, everything. We want to build good workers who are part of good families. So we're here for families as well. There's information about the center. You can go on our website. But enough about Children's Village. We're here today because of a great program that I'm so glad that has reached the local level. We are an AC accredited center, so there's lots of talk about high quality from the president on down. It's really good that it's here in Philadelphia. I'm not surprised, though, because Philadelphia has always been a partnership with business, with community, with the philanthropic group. So thank you, welcome, and it might be a little loud because we have some air conditioning on, but again, welcome to Children's Village.
Thank you, Mary, and I think the air conditioning is welcome in this room, right? So it's now my privilege to introduce Mayor Michael A. Nutter. I tell this story, a few people have heard it, but when we were developing the city's anti-poverty plan, Shared Prosperity Philadelphia, about 2 years ago, we went to the mayor with several drafts, and one of the things I said to the mayor was, I'm not sure we should put early learning in the anti-poverty plan, not because it's not a critical strategy, but there was so much great work already going on, again, from many different sectors, as Mary identified. And the mayor just looked at us and said, you don't have an anti-poverty plan unless you have early learning in there, and figure out what our role can be as a city and make sure that we do the best that we can with that. And so what we learned from talking to lots of stakeholders was there was a need for a unified vision and a common agenda to start to weave all of that work together to make a greater impact, because the statistics are dire, and we can all cite them, but we have to do something about it and begin action on the local level in a very concerted way. So we're thrilled that the mayor said, no way, you got to put it in. We're thrilled to be able to play this role. And with that, I want to thank the mayor and ask him to come up.
Eva, thank you. And good morning, everyone. It's a great moment for us to have this kickoff, and it'll be even better, of course, when we have all the needed services and we're not faced with either overcrowding or a lack of spaces for all of our young people to get a running start. in this great city. Eva and her team, as usual, have done a fantastic job with this particular plan and the overall efforts. Mayor's Office of Community Empowerment and Opportunity, Eva and Mary and the entire team. Please give Eva Gladstein, our Executive Director, and all the folks at CEO a big hand. Good work. The co-authors of the plan, which I want folks to really take note of who are the co-authors on this plan, and I guess it's page 2. The first signature and the first name is actually Police Commissioner Charles Ramsey. Eva, of course, Dr. Height, School Superintendent, and Jack Brennan, Chairman, Emeritus, and Senior Advisor of the Vanguard Group Incorporated. I think that in addition to what the plan actually lays out, but when you see a plan co-authored by those 4 individuals, one, it tells you there's some very serious people who are focused on this issue, not only from their perspective and their experience, but they demonstrate that this is real work that must be done for a variety of reasons, and I appreciate them lending their voices and their credibility to what we're doing here. We have a number of private sector and nonprofit partners. Donna Cooper is here, Public Citizens for Children and Youth, PCCY, and also she is the co-chair of the Mayor's Early Learning Advisory Council, along with Eva. Lieutenant Governor Jim Cawley is here, of course, United Way of southeastern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey. Right, yes, got that. Steve Ray, Economy League, thank you for being here. Mark Squilla, councilman for the 1st District here in the city. And the Democratic Party candidate for mayor, Jim Kenney, is here with us this morning. It was anticipated, because her name is in my notes, that Melissa Bailey Murray, who's a Republican Party candidate for mayor, was going to be here, had a personal engagement that she had to deal with. But I think that their interest and certainly the presence by one and the clear indication by the other, there'll be a lot of things debated in the course of the upcoming election. I think the one thing that won't be a subject of debate will be whether or not children need a running start here in the city of Philadelphia. So let's commend them for that effort. Mary, as you've always done, thank you for letting us take over Children's Village just for a little bit. For me, 30 years ago, I had the opportunity to work with the folks here at Children's Village. I was a staff person for then Councilman Angel Ortiz, and spent a fair amount of time coming to board meetings and a variety of other activities when at that time I think Children's Village was not as well known as it is today. But I'm certainly pleased to be here and declare that Children's Village is a premier child care provider, not just here in the city of Philadelphia, but is one of the premier child care providers in the United States of America. Please recognize Mary and the great work that they're doing. As many of you know, in July of 2013, we launched Shared Prosperity, the City of Philadelphia's comprehensive plan to assess, address, and reduce the effects of poverty in Philadelphia. For decades, Philadelphia has had a very serious poverty problem. As a matter of fact, for the last 30 years, Philadelphia's poverty rate has been in excess of 20% consistently over the last 30 years. And in the years during and since the Great Recession, our poverty rate grew for some time while our federal, state, and philanthropic resources were declining. Today, our poverty rate has actually dropped 2 percentage points since then, but it is still, unfortunately, the highest of the top 10 cities in the United States of America. Poverty is a persistent problem in our city. It is intergenerational. It hurts our entire city. Every person is affected by poverty in the city of Philadelphia, notwithstanding your socioeconomic class. Our economy is hurt, economic development, education, health and wellness, the housing market, and personal opportunity. There's a tangible cost to poverty. Fewer dollars are spent on local goods and services, and fewer dollars enter our economy. fewer companies. We're sometimes in a situation where companies don't necessarily want to locate in our city because of workforce that may not be skilled enough or educated enough to fill the positions of those particular companies. Obviously, that doesn't mean that companies aren't moving to Philadelphia. We have those success stories each and every day. Just think how many more we would have if not for persistent rates of poverty and lack of skills. There's an increased cost to the city of Philadelphia for providing services and an increased burden that is often passed on to our city taxpayers. In many ways, though, our city is in fact thriving. Population is growing, 8 straight years of population growth, reversing 60 years of population decline. New businesses are starting literally every day. Yesterday I was over at Ernst & Young, who hired their 1,000th employee here in our city. Many companies are starting here, staying here, and growing here, and crime has been on the decline for a number of years. But Philadelphia will not continue to flourish if we don't address and then reduce the devastating impact of poverty. We can't afford the cost or the opportunity that is lost as a result. In the last 7 years, we've worked hard to improve educational outcomes, develop workforce job and training programs, target crime, and address nutrition. With the launch of Shared Prosperity Philadelphia, our efforts were more coordinated, integrated, and thoughtful. Which brings us back to why we're here today, the launch of a new early childhood education plan, A Running Start, which will support the Shared Prosperity Plan by increasing educational attainment in an effort to reduce poverty. A Running Start, this plan was developed with the support of Philadelphia's children and families by building stronger schools to create a more competitive workforce. High-quality early learning is a proven way to help people overcome poverty, which is why we need to make it a part of every child's birthright as a Philadelphian, as a Pennsylvanian, and as an American. And Philadelphians clearly recognize the importance of this issue. In a survey of likely Philadelphia voters last fall, more than 3/4 identified, quote, ensuring all children arrive in kindergarten ready to learn as an important value. Last month, an overwhelming percentage of voters, more than 80%, called for the creation of a city commission on universal pre-kindergarten. Voters agree that the city should consider implementing universal pre-K. On that note, I want to thank Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, who was the author of that particular ballot question, who worked very, very closely with Eva and our Legislative Affairs Office, our Policy Office, Maya, who is here to put that ballot initiative together. The commission is currently being formed, and we'll have 17 members who are appointed by the mayor and city council. I'm in the process of doing that actually right now. The purpose of the on my side. The purpose of the commission is to develop an implementation plan. Just my side. Just my side. The purpose of the commission is to develop an implementation plan. Please share that, Mark, back at the shop. Thank you very much. I have enough problems. The purpose of the commission is to develop an implementation plan and funding proposals for high-quality universal pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds in Philadelphia. The results of the commission's work will be delivered to the mayor and city council by April 2016 for full consideration by city leadership. It is written into the legislation that if city council were to fail to adopt the funding proposals as proposed by the commission will then automatically be reconvened and propose a new plan every year until one is adopted by city council and the mayor. The next mayor will have the benefits of this commission already, having begun their work before he or she enters office in January. Educational investment must start early, before the achievement gap is too wide and very costly to overcome. When all children arrive at school ready to learn, they are best able to take advantage of the educational benefits of classroom learning. A major study recently published by Stanford University noted that the achievement gap may begin as early as 18 months of age. Then, at 2 years old, the difference increases to a 6-month achievement gap, and by age 5, it can be as many as a 2-year gap. As a result, disadvantaged children start so far behind when school begins that it is virtually impossible to catch up, especially because, unfortunately, some may also regress during the summer, often known as the summer slide, because we apparently are still harvesting wheat and other crops here in the city of Philadelphia. I digress. That was not in my notes. It's just a personal thing that I have. And that often happens, again, because of with a lack of important out-of-school time learning opportunities. Some of the most significant research in poverty-fighting methods comes from the success of programs to coach at-risk parents, which can also be found in this plan to give our children a running start. Our administration and Eva Gladstein and her team are doing many, many things to confront poverty in Philadelphia. We're working on programs and initiatives to help people of every age and skill set improve their lives right now. But we must also look to the future if we're going to dramatically change the trajectory of our city. We can start in infancy, or, if you listen to some, just wait until a troubled adolescent potentially ends up in our criminal justice system at the tail end. One way or the other, we're going to pay for it. And quite frankly, we will spend much less if we invest on the front end than on the back end. Like Shared Prosperity Philadelphia, a running start follows the philosophy of collective impact. It removes barriers to effective collaboration among the public, private, and nonprofit organizations addressing early learning issues. Specifically, it will create a public-private organization to coordinate a plan with all stakeholders, parents and caregivers, more than 3,000 licensed child care providers, early childhood funders, local, state, and federal agencies, advocacy groups, philanthropic organizations, business leaders, and providers of technical assistance and professional development. It will develop a shared early learning policy and agenda for advocacy while continuously measuring its impact and revising it for maximum effectiveness. I'm proud to launch this plan today and look forward to seeing this work continue for many, many years to come as we help all Philadelphians achieve success through education. On a very, very personal note, I've certainly had the great experience as a parent to have a child in a great early learning experience. It works. It absolutely, positively works. We just need more of these opportunities for our young people. My notes indicate that I am to now introduce the next speaker, which often happens, especially in your last year. You end up introducing all kinds of folks. Increasingly, I'm often introducing my own staff. But this person does not work for me, but we've worked together. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic nominee for mayor of the city of Philadelphia, Jim Kinney.
Thanks for that exciting introduction. I appreciate it.
There are more to come.
I'm sure. Well, good morning. We still know. Good afternoon or morning or afternoon? Morning. Good morning. There's been a lot of discussion in the city and in the country about education and educational resources and who's at fault for where we are in our education system. And too often, the burden falls on teachers, that somehow teachers are the reason why, or teachers' lack of desire or lack of help or lack of effort, or somehow why our children are where they are. And that's just so totally wrong, because all we know is, from all the research and all of the discussion, that unless our babies get what they need from birth to kindergarten, those teachers are way behind, and our kids are way behind, and those teachers will never be able to get them forward, and the effort they have to expend are just frustration. The lack of resources being invested by the government, I think, is unfortunate, both on a state and on a national level. We've done here with the mayor and city council and Councilman Squill and others our best to provide stopgap measures and funding for our educational deficiencies, and it's just not enough. But this effort, I think, is really well placed, and I want to thank Eva and all the people who worked on it, but I especially want to thank Donna Cooper for her laser-like effort and energy in this effort. You cannot run into her without having a discussion about pre-K education. It's awesome. And the people who work for her are just always there, always available with information and research and numbers, and really has put this put this issue on the forefront of what we do every day. It's been the crux of the campaign. Even, I know I've talked with Melissa Murray Bailey, who's the Republican candidate who couldn't be here today. There's whoever wins this election, there's not going to be any lack of emphasis on pre-K and early childhood learning. So I want to make sure that you understand that if I'm successful, Lord willing, and I sit in the office that Mayor Nutter sits in now, we will have a running start in making sure that everything you're doing now and all the work that you're doing now will move forward seamlessly from January 2016. So I want to thank you, commend you for all your work, commit to you that providing the resources necessary to make this happen. This is something we cannot not do. We need to do this, regardless of all the things we're responsible for as a city government. This is the most important thing, because as the mayor said, if you start early and you invest early, I don't have to pay for that young man or young woman up on State Road at $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year to house someone in one of our city prisons. That is a wonderful tuition payment for a college or university, and that's where we should be spending our money. So the mayor's committed, along with his team, to getting this done between now and the time he leaves office, and I'm committed to having it move forward under my watch. And we need all of your help. The one thing I've learned in running for mayor, no matter how smart you are, you can't do this by yourself. You need to keep your ears open and your heart open, and you need to make sure that you follow directions of people, because there are experts out there who have done this stuff, who know what to do, and we just make sure that we give them the resources to kind of move it all forward. So I'm honored to be here today and look forward to working with you next year. Thank you.
So in 2007, there was a very successful ballot measure that Eva Gladstein was responsible for regarding the zoning code. And in 2015, there was a very successful ballot measure involving pre-K that Eva Gladstein was responsible for and our ballot measure today did just as well as the 2007. So Eva's got a pretty good track record of knowing what the voters support. And that ballot measure won in every ward and division, and it outperformed all 5 of Jim Kenney's challengers. So it went Jim Kenney, pre-K, and then everybody else. So that bodes well. And thank you to everybody in this room, because this was a collective effort to make this ballot measure hit a historic mark in support in this city. So plans aren't sexy, right? We're releasing a plan today. They're not sexy, but America couldn't build the railroads. America couldn't have put a man on the moon, and we could not have eradicated polio if we didn't have a plan. And so these plans inoculate children, and these plans stimulate economic growth. Right, the railroads, the man on the moon, polio. The good thing about pre-K is it does both of them. It inoculates children, it takes care of the pay now or pay later, and it stimulates economic growth. So this may be the smartest plan in America. We have 5 steps in this plan. And to the candidates for mayor, this plan is intended to be a way for you to think about this moving forward, and we hope that you'll add to this plan. We understand that we are one group of thinkers, and there'll be a new group of thinkers in town, and we hope that this presents a base for that. And let me remind you that this plan depends on the budget that the governor has been passing with a $120 million investment in pre-K. So it has 5 strategies that we've outlined, and each one of those strategies has tactics. And very briefly, the first one is we need to address the barriers to high-quality early childhood education. Only 2 in 10 providers in the city of Philadelphia who offer child care right now are high quality. We want to make it possible that every child care center that receives funding from the state, federal government, or the city is high quality. Parents shouldn't have to discern if an early childhood program is high quality. They should know the one on the corner is. We have obstacles to ensuring quality is in place, and one of those obstacles is the reimbursement rate for child care. And so actually many of you heard Councilman Kenney running for mayor talking about how we can close the gap, how with a very modest level of city investment on top of the state and federal investment, we can close this gap. And one of the strategies in this plan is a Close the Gap Fund, so that all providers have the financial wherewithal to regularly, every day, open their doors to quality for their children. And finally, I'll just do the third strategy, and Eva will carry on with the last 2. We have to make sure that every child experiences the same kind of learning from 0 to 5 wherever they go, if they move from neighborhood to neighborhood, when they go from from an early childhood program to an elementary school. And one of the challenges in that is we simply don't pay enough for our early childhood workers. Obviously, we know the old saying, we pay them less than the guys who collect the trash. And I love the guys who come down my street that collect the trash, but I also love the staff at Children's Village. And I think that the goal that the trust that we expect and the equality we expect from the staff at child care programs across the city requires that we not only think about what the training is, which is an important element of this part of the strategy, training to bring up quality, but if I'm trained, I ought to be paid. And so with that, I just want to say that walking in here today, we were asked to sign a pledge. And before we go on to the last two elements, my favorite pledge was signed right here. And it said, I pledge to give children a running start. And she writes, keeping my boss, Councilman Greenlee, focused on education. In order to implement this plan, my Councilman Squilla, all of us will have to reach out to our councilman to make sure that the next mayor has the support to implement the 5 strategies, and Eva will announce the next 2.
Thank you, Don. Okay, so the 4th strategy is a really important one, not that I'm going to put one above the other, but it's about the fact that if we are successful with having high-quality early learning, there's still an issue, which is getting those children seamlessly into K through 3 so they can continue their development, not just with literacy, but their overall emotional, social development that Mary spoke about that goes on at Children's Village. And we were surprised to learn in so many communities, parents or even child care providers don't know where the local kindergarten classroom is. Parents don't know to sign their children up in the spring. They go in the fall, in September. Whoops, there's no kindergarten class because there was not an early sign-up, and so no class was created in that community school. And so we want to make sure that there's alignment between the 0 to 5 and the K through 12, particularly K through 3. And actually some of this work, a little bit of it is beginning this summer, which we're thrilled to say, which is to start doing some joint training by the school district of the early learning providers with the K through 3 professionals. So they start hearing and seeing the same information, have the same message, and are communicating that to parents and to children. So we're really grateful to the school district for beginning that work. And then the second thing that we're going to see, and I hope sooner rather than later, that really gets me going because I love working in communities, is to have networks that are based around schools and communities where everybody can come together, the social service providers, the child care providers, the parents, the children, and the school, and they create a network so there is a seamless flow from the early years into K through 12 because people know each other, they know what the attributes are the various programs, they know where they are. They're not foreign to them. It's not, it will become natural. It's like, you know, the parents and the children knowing this is where my child is going to go at age 5 and feeling good about it and feeling comfortable. So hoping to get those neighborhood networks up in a number of communities in the next year. And, you know, you'll be able to see that on the ground. Goal, that's the end of the kind of substantive goals, but goal 5 is probably the most important one to get right. We call it infrastructure and funding, and it's really about how to make sure that we have corralled ourselves so we're all working towards that same vision and agenda and not letting it lapse, but also learning when we make errors or when something doesn't go that well and we can correct, and that we're measuring how we're doing. Importantly, that we have the data, which is always an issue, to make sure we're making the connections between the various systems that are working with young people and their parents. We are starting work right now to think about how the Mayor's Early Learning Advisory Council becomes an independent public-private entity with all the stakeholders at the table, but it exists to carry this work forward and to make sure it gets done and to keep us focused on a running start. And so we're starting that work now. We also hope to begin to develop what's called a funders collaborative. So the philanthropic community, which is already very engaged, but they know through a collaborative, would know what each other is doing, would know where the smart investments are, how to fill the gaps and advance the work. And then our last piece of infrastructure and funding, I am thrilled to say, was to get a universal pre-K ballot measure through. And we did that already. So we had 15 strategies, and check. One is done. So let's congratulate ourselves for that. So we hope to be able to have similar events, maybe at Children's Village, maybe at some of the other high-quality providers who've been so gracious with their time in the years to come, where we can continue to check, but also make adjustments as we need to, and to keep informing ourselves about the work. And I think with that, we are, I want to say one other thing. I keep holding this up. It will be available probably as soon as we get back to our office in about an hour or so. At sharedprosperityphila.org. There's both an executive summary and a longer plan, but even the longer plan is great to read.
The one thing you don't get to decide is the fact that it costs us $105 a day to keep someone up on State Road. $105 a day. $38,000. No one gets to vote on that. You don't get to decide. Unfortunately, people find themselves in a situation, we arrest them, they're up there, double, triple cell in some situations. There are 2,000 fewer people in prison today than the day I walked into office, but there's still many, too many. The grant we received and was announced last week, the MacArthur grant, will help us on criminal justice reform. But I think our ultimate goal has to be prevention. The fewer people who go in the first place, the more money we're going to save, and the more the economy is going to flourish. So we have some, I think we just have some critical decisions to make as a city, not just a city government, but citizens have to make some decisions here. We're going to invest in our children, or are we going to deal with broken adults?